What's up, guys, and welcome to another Underdog Best Ball Show. Spread and I are going to be drafting a big board today, 2 days before the draft, or actually the draft is tomorrow. So we're going to take a look at what the current rankings are and the impact that some of these rookies might have on whichever team that they end up on. So we'll get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching the Underdog Best Ball Show. We're going to be doing a big board draft, as I mentioned at the top. We got the draft coming up tomorrow. I haven't gone heavy on looking into the current situation with some of these draft prospects as far as the best team placements and everything like that. But I wanted to get a draft in, at least a show in before the draft tomorrow, because it looks like there's some DraftKings contests that are going to have a bunch of overlay. They're giving out free tickets. So make sure to go over and check out DraftKings for their best ball contest, because you can get some free tickets right now. And I'm joined by Spread, who's been drafting throughout the offseason. I wanted to get Spread on with me to kind of talk through some of the changes that we've seen in the offseason and maybe some of the anticipation for the draft. Spread, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Man, I'm excited to draft more with you, and I'm actually excited to find out where all these players land tomorrow night. I have my takes, and I have my idea of where people think they're going to go, but I could be wrong, because a lot of the things that I thought earlier in this draft process or draft season, whatever you want to call it, a lot of the experts or the insiders are coming out with conflicting information. And of course, when it comes to fantasy football and our best ball drafts that we're going to be doing today and all summer, the big one, of course, will be the landing spot for Ashton Jeanty, one of the most dynamic running back prospects we've seen in a while. But we've seen, Saquon Barkley shows the same thing. Landing spot, offensive line, offensive scheme, and the franchise you go to matters. So I'm curious to see where these guys end up. I'm pretty sure I know where Cam Ward's going, but I think the rest of the board's a toss-up. So I think this is fun, and I definitely, like I told you, I don't know about every team and what they need, but I got some player takes, especially on these rookies. I've done a lot of work looking into what the scouts are saying about these guys, reading about their strengths and weaknesses. So I think I have a pretty good idea of who's going to translate well into the pros.
That's good, man. I tend to follow more after the draft, just because leading into the draft, I usually hear hype around certain players, and then they end up on these teams that don't even need them, especially with the running backs. And so you invest, like a lot of draft capital on some of these rookie running backs heading into the season, and then they end up on teams that aren't even going to use them. So this year I've kind of taken a lighter step heading into the draft. Once we know the teams that these players end up on, I'm going to feel a lot more confident with developing some takes on these rookies. But I do, from talking to Spread, I get the feeling that it's going to be one of those years of the rookie running back, and that is going to help us out with our draft strategy, because that's going to enable us to go lighter on running backs in the early rounds. Last year, we were going heavy, and that ended up being the right call. I felt that there was going to be a dynamic shift in the NFL where teams were shifting more towards their run games as opposed to the receiving games, just due to the nature of the sport and defenses adapting to offenses and stuff like that. It felt like it was time. And last year we saw it. We saw like the running backs take a big role again. Like as far as teams valuing these running backs and their roles in games. And we saw monster years out of guys like Saquon Barkley and whatnot. So this year, I feel like we can go back to our zero RB, maybe hero RB strategies in the early rounds, and then focus more on some of these later round running backs as these drafts go on. But Spread, what is your typical strategy been? I know you've been drafting throughout the off season with Tyler, I believe, right? And have you been doing that for which channel?
We've been doing that over on FanSpeak. Tyler and I have kind of found our niche because most of the people there, they like Underdog more. But we've talked about it before on this show. You know that I like the edge that DraftKings provides. Number one, we talked about it beforehand, but people don't know there's going to be some potential overlay over there on this contest going on right now. And two, I think the rooms are a little bit softer. So, you know, I've been over on DraftKings. I'm going to jump back into the Underdog streets with you here today, Simon, and let's see how many of my players are available, because usually I can get the guys that I want here over there. What I've been doing mainly is a hero RB and loading up with rookie running backs. So this is on Underdog, it's called the big board. On DraftKings, it's called the training camp. But we're drafting before we know these players are going to go. And the draft that we're doing today is going to lock tomorrow night when the draft kicks off. So you are only drafting against people who have no idea what team Ashton Genty is going to be on. We got no idea what team Shedeur Sanders is going to be on. We have no idea where Tet McMillan's going to go. So it's kind of the fun of this contest is trying to think of, hey, where are some good potential landing spots? Like, for example, I think a great landing spot for a running back would be the Washington Commanders. I mean, the offense is humming. I think that Brian Robinson did a great job. Austin Eckler's another year older, but I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for whoever steps in to that dynamic offense. I think the Cowboys are also looking for a running back. That's a great landing spot. Do they grab Genty at pick 12, or do they wait till round 2? And there's nothing wrong with waiting until round 2 this year. And if the draft wasn't so deep, I think that Genty might be getting a little more interest. And we'll see where he ends up, because under 6.5 has been steamed as of late. Rumor he would go to the Jaguars. That doesn't make sense to me, except for the fact that the Jaguars never make sense. It's not like this is a well-run franchise. So I could see them. To me, it'd be a waste to pick. He's going to be a great player. But Saquon was a great player, and he did turn around the Giants. Right?
Yeah.
A running back is the last piece of your team.
Right.
As Philadelphia showed. You have a stacked team already. You add a dynamic running back. Now you win the Super Bowl. You're the New York Giants, and you suck everywhere. It doesn't matter how good the running back is. It doesn't help you. So I hope Jacksonville doesn't make that mistake. I actually hope Genty falls in the draft. The later in the draft, the better franchise he's going to, and the more chance for success he has. And I'm rooting for the kids. So we'll see where it ends up. But I am excited to do this draft today and then finally find out where some of these players are landing, because, you know, I'm in the minority. Everyone thinks that the Raiders are out of the Shedeur Sanders running by signing Geno Smith, and I don't think so. I would not be surprised if they did what Atlanta did last year, signed a free agent, and then drafted the rookie as well. So so many exciting landing spots for these players that we'll find out tomorrow night. But right now we get to put the blindfold on, Simon, and go ahead and try and just figure out where we think these guys are going to be landing.
Yeah, I think when you sign a guy like Geno, you're signing a transitional running back, quarterback. You're looking for your next quarterback. And if a guy like Sanders falls to the Raiders, you know, I would not put it past, you know, knowing their management and their typical drafting style, for them to pick up a guy like Sanders. That would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, if Brady took over, is anyone going to prioritize quarterback more than, you know, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time? And he said before, I don't like these quarterbacks playing as rookies. I don't think they learn enough about the NFL game, and I think the quarterback should sit. This is before he was a minority owner. The idea still stands, and I don't think you can ever have enough at that position. What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah,
you have to trade, you know, Smith. There's always going to be a market for a quarterback.
Yeah. One thing that I found interesting, Spread, was Sanders was on, I can't remember if it was like a podcast or something like today or yesterday, and they asked him who are the three most dynamic duos in the, like, I can't remember the history of the NFL or something. He said something along the lines of, one of them was Rodgers to Devontae Adams. He said one other, but then the other thing that he said is whoever the Giants quarterback is throwing to, Neighbors and whoever the other guy is. So that to me kind of hinted at maybe the Giants will take him, potentially. What Giants are number 3 in the draft?
Yes, right now Cleveland Browns are number 2. They're favored to take Travis Hunter. The way he's been rising up these draft boards, seems like they're going to use him as a wide receiver. Because he's moved up on about 20 spots of ADP during this whole big board evolution of the draft. So Travis Hunter going to Cleveland. Market seems to think he'll play wide receiver. Right now, Abdul Carter is the favorite to go, but it's smokescreen season. And we've seen a lot of these projections be wrong as the teams put out incorrect information in order to secure the players they want.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm on the same page. Like I've kind of been drafting him that way in the few drafts that I've done. I kind of anticipated, teams would want him more as a wide receiver just based on the value of, the wide receiver position and having a potential elite talent to plug in there. I think it made a lot more sense to envision him as a wide receiver in the NFL. Like given, like he could have gone either way, like I think teams would rather lean wide receiver than cornerback.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I thought that if he was playing both sides of the ball, it would be better to be a full-time corner and then a part-time wide receiver with the idea, and who knows, but if you're a part-time corner and you're coming in here and there, you're pretty much signaling to the other team you're playing man or a very basic zone. Yeah. Whereas at wide receiver, you could learn the whole defense and then you only need to know your route on offense. It's not as integrated from the wide receiver perspective. So, but market disagrees. And the way he's been shooting up these boards, it seems like a lot of people are thinking that he's going to end up being primarily a wide receiver for probably the Cleveland Browns. And I've heard arguments that if, he couldn't play corner at all and we were only looking at him from a wide receiver perspective, he'd be by far the top prospect in this draft, just from a wide receiver's perspective. So a lot of interesting stuff there. And I think that's a lot of fun. And it makes Travis Hunter a fun flyer to take right now in this draft because let's say he gets drafted by the Browns tomorrow. And then on Friday, Stefanski announces that, hey, we are going to play him as a wide receiver most of the time. He's going to fly up the draft boards to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick.
So if he goes to Cleveland, it's looking like Flacco's going to be his quarterback, right?
I think they got to do something else, right?
Like, what do you think they'll do?
Trade for Cousins?
I think that would make a lot of sense. I think Cousins will actually have a better year this year than he did last year, just based on, the guy was recovering from an Achilles tear last year, and I think people had too high expectations for, what he'd be capable of last year. And then when he wasn't delivering, I think like the sentiment went way, way negative, which is going to open the door for one of these teams to, take advantage of the Falcons, making that terrible move to begin with and picking him up like a year removed from that injury. Like I think Kirk Cousins.
Well, it depends on what they get for him, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
If you get a 2nd round pick for him, pretty good deal.
Yeah.
It just costs you money.
Yeah. The good thing, like I know, like we all made fun of the Falcons last year after they drafted, used the 6th overall pick on a quarterback. But, like after he came in last season and we saw, like he was pretty sharp in the games that he did play and the opportunities that he got. I think it made a lot of sense to draft him. The problem was wasting $120 million on Cousins, like when they could have used that money to, pick up like a free agent wide receiver, dude, like so much stuff you could do with that money, and they wasted it on like on a guy like Cousins when they drafted had intentions to draft a quarterback. So I mean, it just poorly managed overall with the Falcons, but they could end up, like Spread said, in a decent situation regardless. At least getting a second round pick out of it if they're able to move Cousins for that price.
I mean, I doubt they get a second round pick for him. I was just saying the chapter's not over yet. And depending on what type of value they're able to extract from him, it might not end up being a big deal. I don't know the cap implications if he's traded, but it can end up working out all right. It was kind of what I was saying, about why I think Sanders could go. Anything a quarterback that can play is always going to be a trade target.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't think you're ever sitting there going, oh man, I wish we didn't have this valuable asset.
Right. Yeah. I think you can plug Aaron Rodgers into similar situation, but Rodgers, he was shown decline before he went to the Jets, and then he had obviously the missed season on top of a down season last year. But it'll be interesting to see if he ends up with Pittsburgh. He's got a couple weapons potentially in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Spread and I were talking about this prior to the show on what we think would happen with those two similar receivers playing, like for the same team. Like what would happen in that situation? Potentially, like a Pickens trade, like during the draft or after the draft, maybe. I don't know. Spread, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I have no idea. And maybe, Tomlin's always been a little bit unconventional. Maybe he has no problem doing two X receivers. Mm-hmm. Maybe they think that Roman Wilson will actually play this year. Maybe they just grab a slot guy to go underneath, and they're just, saying, hey, we're going to be a nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators. And if we can't block that well, let's keep the safeties way back, and that's going to be our way to establish the run. So I have no idea what's going on there. I have no idea if Rodgers is even going to sign.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have been a sure thing. He hasn't signed yet, and the Steelers don't seem like the types that would mess around. I mean, they might have let him know, like, okay, offers off the table.
It's surprising that, I get it. Like when he was younger and he had more clout, like to take his time with his decision making, but now it's like teams aren't going to mess around with that. No matter what his history is as a player, it's just going to be, like a situation where they're just, okay, screw it, we're not going to wait anymore for this guy. We don't want to deal with the headache. We're just gonna move forward and either draft a quarterback or like go with. I mean, they got rid of both their quarterbacks, so I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. But I'm imagining that they're going to probably have to draft somebody at this point. Spread.
Yeah, I don't know how comfortable they'd be going in the season with the rookie, anyway. So
right. So maybe they would trade for Cousins potentially.
Yeah, I wonder how he would do there.
I
don't think he's good I wouldn't want him in the AFC North. Yeah. I think too cold and it's too rough.
Right, because he was primarily, played well in
the dome.
Yeah,
inside.
Dome. So yeah. But he did play in Washington too. So he's
that was a long time ago though.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this all shakes out.
All right, guys. So make sure to hit that like button. I'm looking for about 30 likes to put out the next video. Do that shortly after the draft, once we get a good idea of how these teams are shaping up and how these offenses are going to look. Spread, I think probably a good time to jump into a draft. We can talk about some of these other free agent moves, but make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Probably going to try to get to around 2,000 subscribers before the season starts. I need about 400 to get there, so I definitely appreciate any help with that. Spread big board? You think big board?
That's what we should do.
All right, let me get.
And it should fill up pretty fast yesterday. Our DraftKings draft filled up really fast yesterday.
Nice.
So.
All right, so let me see drafts. I do it on my phone because it's a lot easier. A lot easier to do it on my phone than on this this desktop here. Spread, you like doing it on your desktop, don't you?
Yeah, I like the desktop much better.
Big board looks like it's about to fill too. They only have a little room left in this one. It's a $10 entry. Make sure to use the promo code SEEK, SEEK. They're going to give you $1,000 deposit bonus, up to $1,000 deposit bonus. That's going to be 50% of your deposit amount. So if you deposit $2,000, that'll get you $1,000 bonus. Spread, I just jumped in. There's 8 more to start, it says.
All right, let's see how fast it fills. What other draft takes do you have, Simon? Are you? I think Cam Ward's going 1, Hunter's going 2. I'm trying to think what would be a good question. Where do you think the best landing spot for Genty would be? Do you like him in Chicago? Because a lot of people are mocking him to the Chicago Bears.
That would be a terrible.
I think that would be. Why do you say that?
Just because of, we saw them with a bunch of weapons last year and he couldn't do anything with them. I know it's a different coaching situation. Ben Johnson, supposedly going to be an upgrade here, but I just don't. I would rather see him land on a proven team, a team that we know would be able to get good use out of him. I do think that Ben Johnson is going to be an upgrade, but I just don't know if I trust the Caleb Williams aspect yet.
All right, interesting. A lot of people like Genty going there.
Yeah.
But you do not. So let's say we drafted Genty today.
Yeah.
What team would you want to draft him tomorrow night to make our Genty shares be as valuable as possible?
Let me see the draft order here. He's expected to go what, in like the top 5?
So right now he is. I personally don't think so.
Okay.
Because like I said, if you're drafting in the top 10 or the top 12, you got a lot more needs than running back.
Right.
And in the deepest running back draft that we've seen in years, I'm old and I can't even remember a running back draft like this. I don't see why you would use that capital right there. I could get a running back that's pretty close in talent to him in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm not going to be able to do that on the offensive and defensive line. There's a way bigger drop off at linebacker and safety and these other positions of needs that a lot of these poor teams have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think I got mixed up. I was thinking of him as a wide receiver. Yeah, no, I think the Bears, obviously they're going to need a running back. And I think that, Ben Johnson, the run heavy approach, I do think that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, because a lot of people did like that as a landing spot for him.
Yeah.
Ted McMillan, where do you think would be a great landing spot for him, the talented wide receiver out of Arizona?
I think the Jaguars need a receiver, and we need Trevor Lawrence. The analytics don't point to him being successful, based on his performance so far in the NFL. But, with a different coaching staff, they're in need of a weapon. They lost Christian Kirk, obviously, and they lost Evan Ingram. I would not be surprised to see one of the top wide receiver picks go to the Jaguars. And I wouldn't hate to see, what Trevor Lawrence would do with an elite receiver. I don't think, obviously the Giants I don't think would be necessarily the best spot for him. The Patriots, I don't like Vrabel for a wide receiver. I think he would be a letdown in the Patriots. The Raiders potentially. Like what do you think on the Raiders with Geno throwing to him?
I think he'd do great. Chip Kelly seems like a good offense for a highly drafted wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's like plenty of good spots. What pick are you expecting him to go? Like in the top 20, top 10?
Ted, I think I would be shocked if he fell out of the top 10.
Okay. Top 10.
I think Jacksonville's a potential landing spot. I think Las Vegas is a potential landing spot.
Mm-hmm.
New York, the Jets are a potential landing spot. New Orleans.
Do you think the Jets though? Do you think what their big problem was the offensive line? Who are they getting mocked to?
But let's just say that Will Campbell and the other guy, I can't remember the guy, he's mocked to us all the time. Let's say both those guys go beforehand.
Yeah.
Do you take a guy that you've got, as a second round grade offensive line because of need, or do you take the best wide receiver in the draft? So it really depends on how it plays out. But most likely right now, according to the odds, the Patriots will take Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raiders will most likely, I think his name is Armand Bembu or something. That's who they most likely take. So at that point, I don't know if you reach for a guy you have a second round grade on. Although I personally do like Kelvin Banks. I think that he's going to be really good.
Right.
Maybe the Jets go that route. But, with Devontae gone, you just got Garrett Wilson. I can see them trying to give Justin Fields some more options. Also, a player that I love, Tyler Warren, another option for the Jets if they want to try to improve that offense and give Fields some more options because the defensive talent's pretty good. For a team drafting in the top 10, they have a lot of defensive talent. Like compare them to every other team in the top 10. They have way more players that you would rather have on your favorite team's defense than all the other teams. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jets go offense here.
Yeah, the Jets, Garrett Wilson might not be long for that team anyways. Like he seems like he's pretty unhappy there. It'd be interesting to, and plus they got a defensive minded coach now. So I wouldn't mind seeing Garrett Wilson get to a better team, like just to unlock his fantasy potential. What's he on, his third? Or no, he's on his fourth year, right? Garrett Wilson?
I believe so.
So it's probably like, one of those situations they're going to trade him at the end of the season or pick up the option, obviously. But do you think they pick up the option on Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely earned it.
Yeah, he's earned it. I'm wondering though if he's going to be demanding a trade at some point and how they would handle that.
Yeah, I mean, if he does, but this isn't the NBA. You can demand a trade all you like, and team control is team control. So we'll see how it turns out. I think that the Jets' first plan is that to win this year, and then he's not going to want to leave. Nothing better than winning in New York.
The Panthers would be an interesting spot too. With the Panthers improving last season, their offense improved under the new head coach. Bryce Young looked much better last year than he looked in his rookie season. I wouldn't mind seeing him getting a weapon, and it would be like one of those sneaky situations too. I think where like you could do those little Bryce Young to McMillan stacks. Like, what do you think on that spread?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great spot for them. Unlike the Jets, though, they do have a lot of needs on defense. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide. But they don't really have a pure number one right now. We got 11.
It's funny, man. Like, I haven't drafted in, probably a few weeks. So I'm going to be relying mainly on, on spreads knowledge here. But my first draft in a few weeks, and I'm right back in that 11th spot. I can't escape it, man.
Being on the turn is rough because to get our guys, we're gonna have to reach a little bit. Like yesterday, we were in 6, and you can just everything is good ADP value.
Yeah, it's all good though.
Yeah, you talk about the people's. We don't do it live, right? But when you do the live streams, you talk about people's streams or people's draft on your streams, like that were in your chat. And it's always tough to do the guys in the 1 spot and the 12 spot because you're going, oh, you kind of reached there, but it's just like, well, otherwise you weren't going to get them. Like yesterday, we did a draft and the guy took Drake London at 12. Well, Drake London usually goes at 17. But if you're picking 12, 13, you got to take him there. So we're kind of going to be in that same dilemma here today. But I know who I want, Simon. So I'll be pushing for a couple of these guys, and because of where we're at, we might need to reach a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, and Brian Thomas would be the perfect perfect teammate for a guy like McMillan too. Yeah,
I think so too, because I think they're unlike Pickens and Metcalf. I think their skill sets would complement each other rather than overlap.
Yeah. So we're looking at, I mean, there's some good potential. Like, Trevor Lawrence could be, like a sneaky comeback player. Like, but we got to see him.
I've done that every year, Simon.
Yeah, that's true. Same here. We got suckered into that last year.
Are you excited about this new coach? Because I am not.
No, I'm not at all. Because I think that Baker was good because of Baker, not because of the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, how many people do we give credit for Baker's turnaround? And at the end of the day, it's like, well, maybe Baker's just a good player. Yeah. All right, give me the board here. Let's figure this out.
All right, we got Nico. Let's see. Let me see how I get back there. Nico, Malik Neighbors, McCaffrey, AJ Brown, and Drake London, and Lad McConkey.
I'd like Malik Neighbors here. Malik or Nico, your choice.
Cool. I'll go with Neighbors.
All right. Let's see what goes next.
Oh, Nico Collins.
You want to do that? I think we have to.
Yeah, let's do him.
I didn't think he would still be on the board. So that guy double tapped running back, which is fine. But I'm in this draft, especially today, Simon, before we know where these guys go and they shoot up the board because they land in advantageous situations. I want to take shots on Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, because these are guys you're getting in the 4th or 5th round. They could be drafted in the 1st round next year.
Yeah.
They could be right next to Bijan Robinson. And it's not just Genty. There is 5 to 6 guys in this draft that I would not be surprised if one of them is a top 10 pick next year.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about running backs. I'm not even including McMillan and Burden and Golden, who I all think are fun prospects as well.
Yeah, listening to Spread talk this way about this running back class should give you guys an indication of his confidence in there, and I mean that should give us confidence in making that 0 RB strategy, and some of the shots that we're going to have later on in drafts. Because not only are these rookie running backs going pretty late in these drafts, but we're seeing some decent, decent starting running backs going later this season. So, I mean, like if people are using that, trying to double tap on running backs in those first couple rounds and leaving us with combos like Neighbors and Collins, then we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great way to start. And I thought it was going to be harder over here on Underdog. Look at this.
Yeah. I think too, like a lot of people are probably trying to get in at the buzzer here on the big board. So we're getting a, maybe a like a crowd like me who hasn't been like drafting all off season.
What do you think of McCaffrey? Because I've been staying away.
McCaffrey?
I think he's way too high priced for a guy that, let's be honest, they weren't honest with us last year.
Yeah.
About his injury.
Right.
Why would we expect anything different from this 49ers front office and these 49ers medical staff?
Right.
And I've heard differing reports about how healthy he really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's fine. I mean, if he drops, but I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have the safety of all these other players, A-Chain, Taylor, Jacobs. I think I like them all more than McCaffrey. So it's not that I'm down on McCaffrey or I think that he's going to be terrible this year. I just think his price is too high. And it's funny how these things go. My other guy that I loved last year, Brock Bowers, Simon.
Yeah.
He's simply going too high. It's so hard for a tight end to pay off a second round position. Goes for Trey McBride too. And I even think Trey McBride has a better argument with the idea of the positive touchdown regression. For the amount of targets he got, the guy had no touchdowns. So even if he gets an average number of touchdowns, he's going to be excellent. I love Brock Bowers here, but second round is too high for a tight end, especially when we've seen rookie tight ends kill it. Who was awesome 2 years ago? Laporta. Who was awesome last year? Bowers. Why wouldn't I just keep going? There's three that I love: Warren, Fannin, and Loveland. Yeah. Fannin is really a flyer. I'm not building around him. But if Warren or Loveland is my tight end one, I'm fine taking that risk because it allowed me to get guys like Drake London, A.J. Brown, Ladd McConkey, right? Jackson Smith in Jigba. Let's get back to the main screen. But that's my reason that I'm kind of staying away from the elite tight end build this year.
You know, in the current situation, I'm thinking that Breece Hall is way undervalued.
Way undervalued. Yeah. I'm fine taking him right here.
Okay, cool. Okay. We'll grab him if he's available. Yeah, especially with the new defensive-minded coach, you know, like Breece Hall, I could see him being a focus again on this offense. Going to go ahead and draft him. So we got our hero RB right there. Shit, man, I don't mind taking a quarterback here. What do you think of Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts?
I want Jaden Daniels. I don't want Hurts. I would take Jaden, or I'd take Omarion Hampton, and then we'd just be balanced at running back position.
Okay.
I don't see any situation where Hampton doesn't. Well, okay. I think it'd be very unlikely that Hampton would come in and not be the starting running back wherever he gets drafted.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's go with Daniels here.
All right. Let me go back to Hampton one more time and tell you why I'm thinking that. I think he gets drafted between like 24 and 32. So he's going to go to a team like Washington, Kansas City, right? A team that's just going to be ready to let him run wild and take over the spot. And maybe with how good Pacheco has been, Kansas City doesn't go that route, especially with the failure of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But my point being is I think Hampton's going to be a great pick because the end of the first round is a great place to get drafted because you're going to a really good team.
Right.
So that's kind of my thinking there on why I'm pretty high on Omarion Hampton.
So last year, it was one of those years where I think it was really only Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen paid off with the early elite quarterback, right? Like, was last year the year that we saw the injuries, or was that the prior year?
Yeah, last year they had problems paying off because 2 years ago they were undervalued. So then they ran up the board last year and just at a second round price, it's tough to pay off.
Yeah, I was avoiding them last year, but this year, you know, getting a guy like Daniels in the fourth, that seems like it's back to equilibrium on those elite quarterbacks. But what are your thoughts there, Spread?
Yeah, I think they're properly priced this year. So grab them when you want them. So
let's see.
I'm pretty happy about having Jaden Daniels there. Obviously, with the rushing upside, he's going to be electric. Potential for the second-year slump. And I think in the NFL, a lot of the second-year slump, especially at the quarterback position, comes from the tougher schedule. So with Washington off that fourth-place schedule, is that going to be the cause for the second-year slump? I can make that argument that was one of the reasons why I thought C.J. Stroud had problems.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, my two most undervalued quarterbacks in this board altogether is Stroud and Love. I can't believe they're as low as they are.
Yeah, Stroud. I mean, if you can get value on guys like that, um, they're guys that could turn around. The only thing with Stroud is the Laramie Tunsil trade. What are your thoughts on that? That didn't they have like a pretty bad offensive line as it was already last season? Like what's that? What do you
Last
see?
year they had 2 really good tackles, and they really sucked in the inside at guards and center.
Yeah.
A lot of that was injuries, so I think they're hoping they get healthy. And moving on from Tunsil was just a financial decision, right?
Right.
Yeah. I assume they have an idea of who's going to replace him. So the good thing is their division kind of sucks.
Right. That makes me a little bit nervous with Stroud just based on his performance last year, if he's going to have kind of a repeat of that. But, like it really, it depends on how the draft goes for them. And, maybe they make a move to bring someone in to improve. But yeah, right now, let me take a look and see the quarterback rankings here in a second. I'll go back to the big board so Spread can see what we got cooking here. Baker Mayfield is undervalued. It's maybe not undervalued. He's going at like 80.
Yeah, I think he's the right price now.
Okay, Bo Nix is 92. That's
Too
a good
high.
price.
You think so?
Yeah,
I think he's too high because I talked about it. That schedule is going to be so much harder.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's our turn.
Not to mention, I think the rest of the teams got better.
Who do you like? Who do you like in this spot, Spread? You want to go back to running back?
I want to go wide receiver. I'd like to get Waddle, Olave.
Let's go Waddle.
Take your choice. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Waddle. The Tyreek situation. I don't know if you saw it. Hanging a kid over the balcony. It seems like Tyreek's got some issues going on.
What, he thinks he's Michael Jackson? Hey, scroll down a little bit. Let me see what rookie running backs are on the board right now because we are going to have to reach. So Judge Kins is 68 and 62. Scroll back up, but we don't need to go down that far.
Sure.
Got
about 12
seconds. Would take Judkins or Najee Harris here.
Okay, let's go with Najee.
Okay, I think that's probably better.
Yeah, let's go with Najee there. Like I like the landing spot for Najee on the Chargers. We know that they're going to want to have a stronger running game. Their offensive coordinator and their head coach, they're in love with running games, and that's a perfect spot for any running back, much less Najee Harris, who's seems like a perfect fit for that team.
Yeah. So Harris is going to continue to rise up the draft boards, and I have plenty of shares of him already.
Yeah, that's a good pick there. I think I would primarily from here. We got a quarterback. We got Breece Hall and Najee Harris. We got Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, and Jalen Waddle. So I think we got a really solid team overall. I think we can shift back to wide receivers on the next pick, and maybe try to look towards getting us a stacking partner for Jaden Daniels if we can find. Deebo Samuel is pretty close to us.
Yeah, maybe we should have grabbed him instead of Waddle, but the potential for Waddle to be the number one,
I think that's
outweighs the correlation.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially with a team that we know is going to, be a fast-paced team, and the chemistry that we've seen with Tua and Waddle already, even with Tyreek on the team, has been strong. Last year was a down year for Waddle, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was an injury there that we weren't too familiar with. He did miss a few games, right? Spread, from what I remember.
Yeah, and he misses a lot of snaps too, if you watch the games. So it's not the most durable guy, but at where we got him, I think we got paid a good price there.
Yeah, he was going in the second round last year, so any discount on that, like we got him on the the 6th round. So that's a pretty good price. So next pick, Ricky Pearsall. I like that pick, number 70 by Chino Season. Like Ricky Pearsall, I think is going to have like he was showing a lot of flashes towards the end of last season. I picked him as a captain in one of those later games last season, and he ended up going off. And he looked good, man. He looked like a great fit for San Francisco, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him have one of those sophomore wide receiver seasons.
Yeah, I think so too. And one of the reasons Pearsall is going so high is Ayuk being dangled in the trades. So I don't know. I'd be pretty comfortable going into my season with Pearsall and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think we'll find out by tomorrow, though. If I'm San Francisco, I want at least a draft pick that's usable this year for Ayuk. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're not getting a lot from him anyway. So it's like, do I really want a 3rd round next year? No, but a 3rd rounder this year, even a 4th, right, can come in and potentially help our team right now.
Right.
And I'm thinking that's what they're looking for.
Ayuk coming off an ACL tear on top of that, so that's going to up Pearsall's stock and Jennings' stock even more.
Yeah, and Jennings has had a good chemistry with Purdy.
All right, so we're looking at right now our best options at the wide receiver position are going to be, speak of the devil, Ayuk, Downs, Cooper Kupp with Seattle, Darnell Mooney, Diggs in New England.
Go back to the whole thing. I want Diggs, but maybe we wait and grab him the next time around. Sure. Who could we have here? I like Caleb Johnson a lot. I will go Caleb Johnson here, and then let's grab Diggs on our next go round.
All right. So we'll go Caleb Johnson, and I'll get Diggs ready in the queue. Other names. Oh, Jalen McMillan. Well, I guess with Goddard back, that's going to be a downgrade for McMillan. But McMillan looked great last year when Goddard went down.
You mean Godwin?
Godwin, yeah. When Godwin went
down.
Yeah,
and here's the thing, and they've been arguing about that when I've been doing the streams over on Fanspeak.
Mm-hmm.
That was a terrible injury.
Yeah.
I think the idea that this precision route runner that just destroys the underneath of the coverage while Mike Evans clears you up over the top, I can really see. So I've been staying away from Godwin. In the past 2 years, I loved him because I figured I'm getting at least 100 targets.
Yeah.
Because Evans was your touchdown guy, Godwin was your target. You pick up the first down guy. Mm-hmm. But this year, coming off that injury, man, and maybe that's one of my flaws, right? We're handicapping ourselves and seeing where we can improve, right? I don't believe in McCaffrey being 100% healthy. I don't know if I believe in Godwin being 100% healthy. Maybe I need to trust modern medicine, Simon, but I'm not necessarily buying it that he's going to come in and be just as effective. So I think McMillan's a great look. I think Christian Kirk's a pretty good look in this range. Diggs is gone. Tank Dell's not playing till what, week 14? So to me, I think he's got a much better upside than most of these other guys you're scrolling past here. Keon Coleman, maybe he takes a second-year look. Jaden Higgins, player I actually love in this range because I think he's got – at this point, we're trying to win the tournament, right? We're trying to win the pod. We don't care if we get 5th or 7th if we don't win. So I'd rather swing for the upside of a player like Jaden Higgins than get what's Dubes or Johnson going to give me? 2 or 3 spikes in the lineup, right?
Yep.
I can't see those guys being in our lineup every week. Maybe Higgins ends up that way. So hold on 1 second. I think I'm going to let my cat back inside.
Sure. Yeah, so we're looking pretty good here with our team so far. I think that we're pretty stacked. We got Jaden Daniels, we got Breece Hall, Najee Harris, and Caleb Johnson. So I don't think we have to worry about running backs for a while. Wide receiver, we got Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, and Stephon Diggs. Maybe if we're looking at tight end right now, we got Jonnu Smith as an option. Goes with our Waddle. Mark Andrews is an option. Tyler Warren, who Spread mentioned earlier.
You know who
he
that's who
likes
I'm
as well.
targeting, right? I would like to get Warren or Loveland. I said we just swing for the fences.
Yeah, let's go.
We know what all these other guys are going to be. What's Mark Andrews' upside? TE6.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever going to be a top guy again. You want to go Jonnu Smith? Same deal. He was actually he's ranked TE6 right now, right? So I would rather swing for the fences. Maybe Tyler Warren is our Laporta or Brock Bowers that gets drafted in the second or third round this year. Do you think Jonnu Smith is going to be drafted in the second round next year? I don't.
No. No.
So I'd rather swing for the fences here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I also don't hate Ingram because they were lacking.
I think Ingram's great in this range. And it's so crazy because one guy's going to the Hall of Fame, but there's no way that I'm drafting Travis Kelce over Evan Ingram.
Right.
I just,
Yeah. And we saw Denver.
I was actually surprised that Kelce didn't retire.
Yeah. Denver's lack of weapons in the passing game last year is a clear indication.
And Peyton loves his tight ends.
Exactly.
Peyton's always done well with tight ends. Maybe I'm thinking of New Orleans, but in the New Orleans days, and you played fantasy football then, a Sean Payton tight end, especially the DFS that we were playing, Simon, right? When you were grabbing the guy at 3,000 to fill up your lineup because you wanted to spend up at the other positions, a New Orleans tight end was always a great option. So that's one of the reasons there. It looks like Warren got taken off the board here.
Yeah.
I say we go Evan Ingram there because that's a need. Let's draft for need here. I know that we don't want our favorite teams doing that, but we're going to do that right now. And then so here's what we do. We look over. Is there someone that we would hate to leave on the board? Jaden Higgins does have high upside, but I don't know.
Let's see. Who's your favorite on the board right now, Spread? Should we go with a quarterback, backup quarterback?
I'd get Higgins, Jordan Love, or Brian Robinson, or Colson Loveland.
Let's go with Higgins.
All right.
It's a little bit early on him, but this is the big board. We're not too worried about current ADP.
In this draft, get your guys.
Yeah.
Worry about ADP in the first 3 rounds, but at this point, get your guys. The whole ADP is going to switch, right? So
you gotta really go with your gut on these types of drafts, and if you think Jaden Higgins is going to be a successful wide receiver, and you see him, but he's not going to make it to you on the next turn. Better to draft him when you think it's a little bit early than not to get him and then see him climb those a couple rounds in the draft.
I like this team so far. Look at those wide receivers.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. I'm thinking
for the 11 spot, we're doing pretty well, Simon. I know we complained about 11, but boy, getting that Nico free fall, I think really just bolstered our starting lineup or our elite lineup, right? Our lineup potential.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see. Let me see if I can find any Washington guys. Zach Ertz, we could draft him as our second tight end later. Any of these these Washington guys. Noah Brown, he got hurt, man. He was looking pretty good before he got hurt. Luke McCaffrey didn't do anything.
These are all guys we'll grab at the end of the draft.
Yeah. What rookie do you think would potentially go to the Commanders?
Because
they're their need. What do you think their need is in the first round?
If I was running them, I would draft defense.
Defense?
If I was running them. This offense is already pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I got Jaden Daniels. I got Terry McLaurin. Who did they pick up? They picked up one wide receiver, right?
Who did they? Oh, they picked up Debo.
Yeah, Debo Samuel. Feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for Debo. I think that's one of those trades that's going to benefit or not trades, but like one of those signings that's going to benefit.
It was a trade. I think they got a
Was
fifth
it a
rounder
trade?
for him.
Who they trade for him? A pick?
Yeah, they got like a fifth rounder. It was basically a salary dump by the Niners.
I think that's going to be a good pickup for Washington then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Debo, we saw him have a fall off last season, but I mean, that was expected with the amount of, reps he was doing as a running back, basically, like over the past few years. They really wore him down. Hopefully in Washington, he has more of a, like what do you think? Like a slot role? Like you think they make him into a slot receiver?
My guess is that Kingsbury's going to use him almost the same way. I think he still will get carries out of the backfield. I think you got McLaurin to stretch, and you have him underneath. And I know he's not your traditional catch the slant and take it to the house.
Yeah.
Because most of those guys do it with speed.
Mm-hmm.
But catch the slant, break a couple tackles, and a 4 yards through the air can be a 16, 17-yard pickup. So my guess, I know people are down on Kingsbury. I think it's the overall leadership as a head coach. Yeah. I don't think the criticisms of him as a coordinator, I don't think stick.
Yeah, so, no, I agree. Yep.
If and I'm just saying, you're a smart guy. I think I'm a smart guy. I would watch what they did with him to be successful, and I would use that very same stuff. I wouldn't try and change him at this point of his career.
Right.
To me, threat out of the backfield, threat on screens, threat on slants. And I think Jaden's going to have a great time with him as the safety valve. So we're on the board. What do we got here?
I don't hate Tua with Waddle.
I think we got to do Tua. So let's grab Tua now. Let's not mess around. And then if he's still on the board, let's grab Kincaid. Kincaid.
Kincaid?
I think he's pretty undervalued here.
Okay.
He was not Goddard. I want Kincaid.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yep.
I mean, I think Goddard's safer. I just think there's a good. Oh, he just got it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'd rather have Tua just to match. We could take Goddard.
I don't mind Johnson. Johnson.
I do. Let's scroll down. Let's see who else we can grab.
Oh, Williams on Dallas.
That's an interesting look.
Let's go.
Or Rico. Yeah, Javonte or Rico on Carolina. Your choice.
Let's go with. Oh, I think my time expired. All right, so that's Williams fine. It is. But no, I'm with you on
share.
Yeah, I like.
I think the reason he's down so far is everyone's mocking Genty to go there.
Hey, Spread. I'll be right back. I gotta get the plug before my computer dies on me.
All right, I'll go ahead and monologue with some of my favorite players. Give me the full thing, and then I can talk a little bit more about what we've seen in this draft so far. So yeah, we got to look at the last round here, and I'm going to go ahead and just talk about some of the players that went. Dak Prescott, I think, is where he's going. I think it's a pretty good pick. We talked about trying to win the pod. He definitely has top 5 QB potential. Brian Robinson, I would have liked to have him with Jaden Daniels. If I don't have Daniels or a Washington stack, I'm not really too worried about missing out on Brian Robinson. In this draft, I would have liked to have him. J.J. McCarthy, what high upside. We saw what Sam Darnold was able to do in that offense last season. And what's crazy? I think that Sam Darnold, you'd say, oh, McCarthy's more talented. I don't think he is. I actually think Darnold's more talented. So it'll be interesting to see how that conversion switches over for the Vikings. And if he's able to step in, most young quarterbacks get to come into a situation where they're learning. They're allowed to make mistakes. They don't have that same playoff pressure. McCarthy's going to have it. He's taking over a team that went 14-3. So he's not going to be able to play through his mistakes. And I know Bryce Young might not be the best example, right? But Bryce was able to play through his mistakes for at least his whole rookie year. We've seen some of these other younger guys be able to come in and not necessarily have that pressure to win right away. It's tough to take over a 14-win team when you're essentially a rookie. I know that he did get the experience of being in the building last year, watching Darnold prepare, and, of course, attending each weekly meeting. So he probably has a better idea of what the league's going to look like. So not a pure rookie, But as far as facing those pass rushers and facing those schemes and processing it at the quickness, I'd safe to say that he's still a rookie. In this running back range that just went off the board, to me, Dylan Sampson was the clear one to go for. If we didn't get Javonte, I would have been pounding the table for him. Versatile back, Simon, has potential pass catching ability. Like him a little more on DK, where I can take advantage of that PPR a little bit more. But Sampson's a guy that I've been drafting him, and I'm crossing my fingers he ends up in a situation where, number one, it's not a crowded backfield already. And number two, I don't want him to go to Pittsburgh or one of these dud bucket offenses from the 1980s. I'd like him to go to a more modern offense, a Sean Payton, right? Sean McVay. I'd like to see him in a spot like that to really take advantage of his skills. So monologue's over, Simon. Let's go back to the big board and let's plot out what we want to do next here. Rico Dowdle's still on the board. That's interesting. Rashad White, I think, has excellent upside. I don't know.
Just went.
Of all those top running backs, just of looking at the film, I think that Bucky Irving is the worst. He might end up just looking. I'm just talking about looking at tape and highlights and just breakaway speed and ability to break tackles. Now, is he going to be good? Yeah, because he obviously earned 80% snap share, but I don't hate that. I love Jalen Wright. I don't think that A-Chain is necessarily too durable. And with Mostert gone, I think Jalen Wright's a good look here. Devin Neal, I think, is interesting. RJ Harvey, I'd say, is interesting. Blake Corum in this range is fine, but I'm not tripping over myself to draft him. I'm completely out on J.K. Dobbins. Let him run the leaderboard for the first 3 weeks again. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think of Keenan Allen or any of these?
I think at this price he's a good pick because he's probably going to end up on the Chargers, right?
I that's what I'm guessing. Like I think they've already hinted at it.
And he's kind of hinted that that's where he wants to play. I think he's made enough money. I think he loves Los Angeles and his family's out there.
Cedric Tillman, we saw him coming alive last year too. I'm surprised he is so far down.
I think it's just people are down on the Cleveland offense. And you'll see this, Simon. Yeah. Wide receivers that have who do you want to go here?
Goddard. You think we should go with our second tight end?
I think we have to.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't understand. Like, I know that they were talking about potentially trading him, but Goddard, like he's a solid tight end in general. I think he'd be.
And I don't think someone trades for him to not use him.
Right.
Right. If you're trading for him, it's because you need a tight end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I don't think Detroit's trading for him to back up Sam Laporta.
And you think of the offense he was on. He had two heavy weapons in front of him on top of Saquon Barkley last year.
He's one of the best receiving. So he's eating up those screens. Right. Because I'd rather have some ball in Saquon's hand. Sorry, Dallas.
He's a beast too. You remember those pancakes he was giving people? Like I think Goddard would be. I think he'd be great on any team that traded for him. Because we know that.
I think the thing is he only has a year or two left. So what do you give up for him? Fifth or a sixth? I mean, if Debo's worth a fifth.
Yeah.
I think Debo's got way more to give than Goddard at this point.
Right. Yeah. Like, let's see. So spread real quick. We got Jaden Daniels and Tua. I'm going to want to get a third quarterback at some point. We got Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Caleb Johnson, Javonte Williams, and Jalen Wright for our running backs. I think we're a little thin on wide receiver with Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, and Jaden Higgins. It sounds like crazy to say it's thin, but I think
here's the thing, though. If we're drafting someone that pops in the lineup now, team's probably dead.
That's true.
I'm not as worried about wide receiver, to be honest. I think we have a nice balanced team.
Sure. Now, do you see any of these? I do like Cedric Tillman. I'm going to put him in the.
I like
QB
Beach
again.
or Beck or however you say it.
Okay.
Uh,
Royals, I've heard some talk about. What do you
I
think
like
on
him
Jalen
too.
Royals?
I like him
Okay.
too. We could. Oh, Damien Brown's not on
Oh,
Washington.
Bond. Isaiah Bond, I've heard talk about too. Like, what do you think on
Yeah,
Bond?
but here's the thing with Bond. He's going to be like great value worthy.
Okay.
He's just super fast, but he's not a good route runner, and his durability is a question. I don't mind picking him at 198.
Shit, Mike Williams is back on the Chargers too.
Yeah.
All right.
Amari
AD
Cooper's
Mitchell,
still a free agent, which is wild to me.
Yeah.
He's still a top 20 receiver. I'm not a big Cooper fan because I was a Raiders fan, and I was disappointed when he left. But that's just wild to me that he's not picked up. I can't imagine. I can't think of one team he wouldn't help.
Right.
What team goes, I don't need Amari Cooper on my line, especially if you're not paying him a lot.
I mean, he went to the freaking Bills. The Bills can never use their wide receivers right, you know? Like they Diggs did well there for a few seasons, but then that last season that Diggs was there, I just don't feel like they're a team that
when Diggs did well, Josh Allen was still the young buck and Diggs was the OG there, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think Allen deferred to him a lot. And if they went back to the huddle and he said, give me the damn ball, Josh Allen, I got you, bro. And I think towards the end, Allen was like, no, bro, this is my team. Run your route and you'll get it when you're open. Right. And I think that's when Diggs wanted to leave, when Allen kind of became his own guy.
Because now
which is why I think he gets to be the OG with Drake May. And I think Drake May is going to listen to him, which is why I like having him on our team.
Yeah.
I think he's okay. I got you, OG.
Yeah.
Fire it to you very next third down, right?
Oh, someone took Tillman.
I think we can go anywhere we want. Let's just pick our favorite player. I don't think that we need we're not tied to position right now. We've done a good job getting a nice balanced team that has a lot of talent.
Okay. Who do you like here, Spread? I'm gonna defer to you.
This is so tough. Give me Beach though or Beck.
Okay.
I mean, we might double tap those and then just be done with receiver.
You think Royals too?
I mean, if he's there, who else would we want there? Ollie Gordon's good, but he can't block, so I don't know if he gets a lot. I like Royals more than Io Manor, personally, or Kyle Williams. So,
okay.
These are really deep scouting, though.
Yeah.
I kind of like Martinez more than Gordon. Gordon's inability to block is really going to keep him off the field. For it to be a multiple down back. I don't hate Austin Eckler just because we have Jaden Daniels.
Where's Eckler at?
But if we didn't have Daniels, I wouldn't be considering him. But with Daniels,
I think we can put. I bet you Austin will fall to us in the next round. Let me put him in the queue. I don't think anyone's going to be rushing to draft.
Well, I think the reason he's falling because you can see, right? Well, maybe you can't see. Maybe I'm thinking just my DraftKings things, but I think the running back rumors to Washington are too heavy.
Gotcha.
Because, like I said, you could probably get a guy. I like Brian Robinson. He's a great guy, great story.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of these guys, even late second round, are going to be better than Brian Robinson. I just that's how talented I think this draft is. So,
what do you think for QB3 here? Do we start looking at Rodgers or what do you think?
That's tough, man. I mean, really, like I said before, almost with wide receivers, if this guy's getting in our lineup, probably something went very drastically wrong.
Yeah.
On this screen, I like Jones the most.
Jones, okay. Yeah, because Jones has a really good shot of winning that starting job, right?
Yeah, and he's gone with Steichen, who did really good work with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And I know they're not the same player, but the idea, it's a mobile quarterback with a fairly good arm. And, it's funny. I don't think that he's as good a leader as Hurts because, you just hear wonderful things about Jalen Hurts and his effect on a locker room. But I never heard any of his teammates have a problem with Daniel Jones, right? And you heard him joking around in the huddle, right? Vanilla Vic. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like Carson Wentz, right? Where when he fell out, there was a lot of reports. It's like, he's got his guys and the rest of the locker room doesn't like him. And It's not good for a quarterback to be cliquey. Wide receivers can be cliquey. Offensive line can be cliquey. Your edge rusher can just hang out with whoever he wants, and it doesn't matter. Your quarterback has to be the team leader. And Daniel Jones seemed pretty popular in that locker room. I'll tell you what, Simon, I'm going to be shocked if Anthony Richardson wins that starting job. I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah. We kind of called it last year with him too. I mean, it wasn't difficult to call just because like every other game the dude was hurt. He only played like 4 games his rookie season, so he was a huge injury risk. But then on top of it, like he was such a raw talent, heading into the NFL in general. And then you get that tape on him, like in the second year, it just ends up being a complete bust, and now he might lose the job to Daniel Jones. Just a bad scene overall for Richardson, and opens up the door for Daniel Jones here for sure on Indy. He's got some weapons there. Pittman, and now if Jones was the quarterback there over Richardson, I'd say that like upgrades, guys like Pittman and maybe not necessarily. Who was that deep ball guy that they have?
Pierce.
Pierce, yeah. Like Pierce would probably be better with Richardson, right?
I don't think Daniel Jones' deep ball that bad. And if you're keeping drives alive, you have more opportunities. So
yeah,
maybe I'm just too far down on Richardson, which sucks to talk about a good guy.
Yeah.
Let's take Eckler here.
Yeah.
And then if we get sniped on Daniel Jones, I'm not too worried about it. Right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm fine picking someone else here.
Okay.
And just letting him drop, right?
So Isaiah Bond, man. Yeah, I've heard. I like Mike Williams back in the Chargers, man.
We can do that too.
Because Herbert knows how to use Mike Williams, and Herbert.
And in this round, I talked earlier. What are we getting out of these guys? 2 to 3 weeks. At this round, 2 to 3 weeks is a steal.
Yeah.
If I get 2 to 3 weeks out the guy I pick at 206, it's a pretty good draft pick.
I think with Mike Williams, he's a year removed from that injury. Rejoins Justin Herbert on a team that desperately needed a competent wideout, and he plays opposite Quentin Johnson now. I think that'll lighten things up for Quentin Johnson too, which would help him. I think that signing Williams was a great move by the Chargers. I think it's going to give him a lot of stability in the offense this year. Even though he's always getting hurt and stuff, but I do think that Williams will pick up where he left off with Herbert before getting traded. Potentially, we obviously a new coaching staff, but I do think that that chemistry is not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much different. I think I don't want to say necessarily play it safe, but you can't miss at the beginning of the draft. Here, roll the dice, right? I mean, we've seen some nutty teams, right, that win these contests. These late round picks are just nothing.
I'm gonna project that Mike Williams makes it into our lineup 4 times this season. I think he's got that type of potential.
I would say maybe. I just like our first 4 guys so much. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they are definitely good picks, but I think with the up and down nature of the position and the
I'm hoping you got to get 2 TDs to crack this lineup sign up.
Yeah,
Simon.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
maybe if not as a one of the starting running backs, I do think that he'll at least be able to make it in as a flex player on some of those weeks. But I do think that Williams is going to have he's going to have a few more than a couple good games with the Chargers this year, and I love that freaking ADP value on him.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same thing too when we talk about people's drafts. I'll be critical of your early round picks, but once we get to here, it's really hard to say shouldn't have taken Torrey Horton, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Who was your other option? Who did you leave on the board, right? That was so important that you couldn't live without. That made it a bad pick. So speaking of good picks, Mostert at 219, fantastic value. He's got a chance, I think, to replicate that touchdown roll that he had in Miami. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be first or second in the league or whatever he was. I love Restrepo too, and you're getting a good value on him because his combine was so terrible. But the thing about Restrepo is he knows how to play football.
Yeah,
and he gets open. So okay, whoop-de-doo. He's not gonna give me a 70-yard catch. Doesn't matter if I can run a route and be reliable on third downs, especially when he's going to come in. He's going to be a number 2 or number 3, right? He's not going to be asked to turn around a franchise, save a team. He's going to be lower on the totem pole as far as the receive. Like, for example, if he goes to New England, Stephon Diggs is going to get a majority of the work. But I think that Restrepo's got a good chance to come in and make an impact on a team as a second or third wide receiver. And there could be games, and we saw this with, like, for example, when T. Higgins broke the slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because Patrick Surtain was on Jamar Chase. So there might be games where Diggs gets taken out. I mean, I'm just in this little scenario I made up in my head. He's going to New England, but it serves my point. You go to a team with a couple established veterans and you're trying to make your way to work. They take away your number one guy. You could have a huge game, because overall T. Higgins didn't have a good season, but he won a lot of playoff games by having that big, I believe it was week 15 this season. And if you look, the primary reason was because I think we just get DJ here.
Yeah, makes sense.
The primary reason was because Surtain, who in my mind is the best, well, he won Defensive Player of the Year, so not just my mind. He had the best cover corner on him in the whole league. So last pick we got coming up, Simon, what do we want to do? I mean, I don't think we need to take a tight end. Of course, we can consider that.
I kind of like Elijah Mitchell on Kansas City.
Let's do it. Like I said, it's really hard to argue with picks at this point.
Yeah, him and Kendre Miller, obviously with that new coaching staff, is in a lot better standing. Someone just took Mitchell on us. I don't hate Kendre Miller or Roshan Johnson for that matter. Like both those guys.
I like Miller more than Johnson personally.
Okay, I'll put Miller in the queue.
I just can't imagine it. Okay, so I'm not necessarily saying Gentry goes to the Bears. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine them going the first 3 rounds without taking a running back. It could be a second-round guy, but like I said, you can get Judkins or Travion Henderson in the second round. Both those guys could have arguably been the top running back off the board last year.
Right.
I like both of them more than Blake Corum, just as prospects.
Cool. So,
all
right, let's go with Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, Miller just caught a lot of hate from the team. The ex-coach.
Dennis Allen hated him. Allen hated him. They did not get along.
Yeah.
And usually these coaches protect their guys in the interviews, and he didn't. And so that to me said a lot here. I like this team a lot, Simon. I think we did a great job.
Yeah, I think so too. We got ended up with quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Tua Tagovailoa. I always like I know how to pronounce his name, but I always fuck it up. Like regardless, Daniel Jones. Running backs, we got Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Caleb Johnson, Javonte Williams, Jalen Wright, Austin Eckler, and Kendre Miller. So solid.
Good correlation there with our backup running backs.
Yep. I like that. And we got, they're not afraid to throw it to the running backs, as we saw with both those teams last year. Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs.
And let's hope one of these next 3 gets drafted to Washington. and then we're gonna have a good
Oh,
team.
that'd be perfect, dude. Like
Right?
we got Higgins, Jaden Higgins, Jack Beck, or Betch, or whatever we were calling him.
Yeah.
Jalen Royals.
I can't remember if it's Betch or Beck. I can't remember.
Yeah. And Mike Williams, and then tight end we got Ingram and Goddard. I mean, the tight ends are solid there. We got solid wide receivers. Our running backs, we didn't get hurt by running backs by going wide receiver early. Just kind of goes to our point about the potential for, like zero or hero RB this season. And, like overall, I just think that, the team looks solid. We were in the 11th spot. All our positions are solid. I could see this team, winning the pod.
Yeah, make sure you tag me on this, Simon. I'm gonna be hitting you up for these winnings.
Yeah, definitely. I think this one's gonna do well. You know what's funny, Spread? Like, even though I don't really like get into it until after the draft, is my big board teams usually do pretty good for whatever reason, man.
I talk about competition all the time.
Yeah.
We get more information, but guess what? Me and you aren't the only ones that get it.
Right.
Right. And that's why some of my friends go, "You're degenerate for drafting basketball teams in June." I go, "You're degenerate for drafting them in September."
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I got a much better chance of beating the market in June, just like my NFL. I don't want to bet on Sunday morning. I usually like to put my bets in on Tuesday. Maybe Sunday night if I absolutely love something and I know nothing's going to change my mind.
Right.
But I want to get to this market early. And I think in the big board, the fact that you're also competing against a lot of people that don't know these players. Right. And unless you're spending time and reading these scouting reports like I am and talking to people who can scout, like, for example, over at Fanspeak, Steve is a former scout. He's been to the Senior Bowl. He has connections in the industry. Yeah. That can help a lot. And a lot of this information that, you can deep dive and find on the web, it's going to be on every single fantasy football pregame magazine that comes out in July.
Right.
That's why I like to draft early personally.
Yeah. And I want to give a plug over to Fanspeak. They got a best ball product launched this year. I believe it's already launched, right, Spread?
No, we're waiting until after the draft.
Okay. So when that thing launches, like Spread said, they got solid people, behind it, and, Steve's knowledge of, these prospects and everything like that. And they crush in best ball along with Spread and Tyler. So definitely check that out. Spread, are you going to be doing like any sort of like rankings or anything in that?
I personally am not doing rankings. I'm just doing DraftKings drafts. Because it's a different sport. I mean, it's a different game.
Yeah.
So I'm the DraftKings guy. Tyler and I take care of DraftKings, and I'm just heavy on my player takes, right? Like high on Tyler 1, high on Colson 11. I loved our Caleb Johnson pick today. High on going hero RB this year. Maybe not zero, but I like hero and trying to backload with running backs. So
I like that.
That's kind of more my lane there, and then the rankings that are available on the site will be done by Steve and Meg.
Yeah. And like when I look for, if I'm going to be paying for a best ball product, I'm going to be looking for the underrated best ball product. And I think that you'll find that.
Right. Because ETR is a great product, right? But you're sharing it with 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to go for, like the great product that I'm sharing with, like a couple thousand as opposed to 10,000. So
if this isn't betting, right? We cannot just make the same bet.
Exactly. The strategy and game theory, and you can't do game theory if you're playing like everybody else. So Spread, good having you on, man.
Let's do one right after the draft, and we'll know where Genty is, where McMillan is, where Shedeur Sanders is. It should be a lot of fun.
You got anything else you want to plug, Spread, content-wise?
Just follow me at Spread Astaire. I'm doing WNBA now. That's a new one, but I'm introducing WNBA this summer. Doing NBA as usual. Doing NFL content as usual. And I'll be doing tennis this summer as well at Spread Astaire.
Nice. Good stuff. Make sure to check all that out and hit that like button. Looking for 30 likes to trigger the next video. And then also subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 2,000 before the end, beginning of the season. So we'll probably get there as we get a little bit closer to the season. But if you guys want to hit that like button now, that definitely helps out. And appreciate you guys. And I'll see you next time.